Elizabeth Ekaite here. Welcome to e-Semplice, where music theory is simplified. This is a grade 1 music theory video on notes and rest grouping, question and answer. To aid comprehension, please see our videos on simple time, notes and rest grouping, then compound time, notes and rest grouping. It will help you a lot. We shall consider examination questions from Muson exam November 2020, Muson exam November 2018. This question is from Muson exam November 2022, and it says, rewrite this melody with the notes correctly grouped. It is best practice for you to sketch the initial outlook of time signatures before you start working with them, because it will guide you as to how to group the notes correctly. Now, this is the initial outlook of 4/4 time with 4 crochet beats per bar, and there is a middle to the bar of 4/4 time, and that middle divides it into a minim on one side, another minim on the second side. Now let's go to the question. Let's add our key signature and then our time signature. Now we have a total of 6 quavers in bar 1 and a crochet. So how are we supposed to group this? The first thing is that group half of the bar. Remember, when grouping notes, small note values like quavers, semiquavers, demi-semiquavers, etc. should be beamed. You should remember beaming of notes should be beamed together. So we are looking for the first half of 4/4 bar, which is a minim. And with that, it means you can beam 4 quavers together to form the first part of the bar. And the second part of the bar, remember, you cannot beam notes that don't have flags or tails. So you cannot beam the 2 quavers with the crochet to form the second half. So the best practice is beam the 2 quavers together, then add the crochet. That still forms the second part of the bar. Add your bar line, then same thing again. Look for notes you can beam together to form a minim, just like we did before. So the first 4 quavers in bar 2 forms the first part of the bar, and the minim forms the second part of the bar line. Next, well, in bar 3, you can still do half of the bar. So look at those notes. How many of them can you beam together to form a minim? If you look at it, a quaver and 2 semiquavers will form a crochet. Then the quaver and another 2 semiquavers will form another crochet. So that means the first 6 notes in bar 3, you can beam them all together to form the first part of the bar. So we have that. And for the second part of the bar, remember, you cannot beam notes with a crochet. A crochet has no flag or tail. So that means the 2 quavers and the crochets. Then the last bar is already beamed for you. So just bring down the notes. You are doing nothing there. And we have solved that question. Let's see another question. This question says, add one rest at each of the places marked with asterisks to make each bar complete according to the time signature. For me, I still insist, sketch the initial outlook of the time signature you are working with as a guide. Now, let's compare the bar to the outlook. The first bit is a crochet, we have it in the question. The second bit is a crochet, we have it in the question. The third bit is a crochet, but we only have a quiver on the stave. So what are we supposed to add to that quiver to make the third crochet? That should be a quiver, but we are asked to add rest. So it means we are adding a quiver rest at the first asterisk. Now let's look at the second asterisk. Look at the outlook. We have a meaning in the question, and that meaning combines bit 1 and bit 2 in the outlook of the signature. So that means we are only left to balance that bar with bit 3, which is a crochet, but we are not using notes, we are using rest. So the answer to the second asterisk is a crochet rest. Now let's move to the next asterisk in bar 4. Look at the initial outlook. We have a crochet to represent bit 1, but then we have a dot. Remember, a dot is half of the note. So that means that dot, you are actually looking at a quiver, and that quiver is part of bit 2. So what do you need to add to that quiver to form the second bit, which is a crochet bit? It is a quiver, but don't use note, use quiver rest. Now the next asterisk, that bar is a silent bar. A bar is said to be silent when there is no note in the bar, or when there are no notes in the bar. Now that bar is silent, and you are required to add one rest that will completely balance that bar. Please, at this point, I counsel you see our previous video on full bars rest. Full bars rests. Just go to e-Semplice YouTube channel. There is a video done some months back on full bars rest. Please watch it so you understand full bars rest. So the only appropriate rest at in this bar or at this asterisk is full bars rest, which you know to be semi-brief rest. Now that bar completely balances, that rest completely balances that bar, because it means 3 crochet beats per bar, that is in this time signature. Please do well to see our video on full bars rest for more explanation. Now the last asterisk, let's compare the bar. In the question we only have bit 3, so that means bits 1 and 2 are to be provided, and we are looking for a rest. The question says 1 rest, so we are going to add a minim rest there because that combines bit 1 and bit 2. But if the question did not specify that you should add 1 rest, an alternative to that asterisk is 2 crochet rests. Let's go to the next question. This question says, group these notes to agree with the time signatures. Now this is 4/4 time. Always sketch the initial outlook of 4/4 time, and then remember there is a middle to a bar of 4/4 time. Now let's look at it. So look at the quavers that are provided. Just look for the number of quavers that will form a minim, and that will be 4 quavers. So beam 4 quavers first together to form the first part of the bar, then the second part of the bar you have 2 quavers which you beam together, and then you bring in the crochet, and that bar is correctly grouped. Now let's go to the next one, 2/4 time initial outlook. Now look at it. We are looking for 2 crochets, 2 crochet beads, and you know that is a total of a minim. So that is, it is allowed in 2/4 time for you to beam 4 quavers together. So the first bar will be made up of 4 quavers, which forms a minim, which forms 2 crochets in a bar. The next appropriate thing is add a bar line. Now, Muzon wants to know if you understand what you are doing. After those 4 quavers, the next thing should be a bar line, because that bar is already balanced. Now the next bar is going to be made up of another 4 quavers, which is bar 2, before you now add the bar line that was given, and then there is nothing to do in the last bar, just bring the minim in, and you see that with that you have completely balanced the question or the extract given. Now let's move to another question. This question says add rest to complete the bars. I prefer you still sketch the initial outlook. It will help you a lot. It will guide you in the right direction to go. Now the initial outlook 4/4 time. So if you look at that, only bit 3 is missing, and bit 3 is a crochet, and you are using a rest. Now we move to 2/2 time. The first bit is on the bar, so what is missing is the second bit, but the second bit is needed as a rest, so that means you use a minim rest. Let's move to 3/4 time. Now 3/4 time, we have bit 1 in the question, we have bit 3 in the question, but bit 2 is only a quiver, so we will need another quiver to balance bit 2, but the quiver means you are going to use the rest of a quiver to balance that bar. Now we come to 6/8 time. 6/8 time, the first bit is a dotted crochet, but we have only 2 quavers at the beginning, so that means we need to add another quiver to balance the first dotted crochet, and what will balance it will be a quiver rest to balance the first dotted crochet. Now the second dotted crochet starts with a quiver, so that means we need 2 more quavers to balance the dotted crochet bit, so we will just add that. Now I know some of you will be asking, why can't we use a crochet rest? It is best practice for you to use 2 quavers, because this is a compound time. Now the last one, 4/4 time, we already have it, so that's very easy to balance. Let's proceed. Oh, best of luck in your examination. If you had not already subscribed to e-Semplice YouTube channel, please do. Many thanks for watching.